Yeah, we back. Now today's gonna be a quick video, different type of video. If you remember, sometime last week, I gave a report card to the administration of President William Ruto in Kenya. Now today's gonna be a similar video. We're gonna be examining another head of state. I saw recently that the World Bank recently came out with the article discussing the economic forecast and situation in Burkina Faso. So I want to jump into that article. And as you already know, the World Bank, that is a full-fledged Western institution. I believe the majority of their funding and support, comes directly from the United States. So what I'm saying is there's going to be no bias in the favor of the captain when it comes to their analysis. So I want to jump into that. And I also want to give my own analysis and my own report card as well. So I think the captain been in power for 3 years now? I think 2022 around this time. So going on about 3 years. So we're going to give him his report card, his examination. You know, it's still early in the game when it comes to me. You know, I think when you're in a development stage, you got to be in power for enough time to get everything, the foundation solidified. But anyways, we're going to give his report card the same way we did for President William Ruto last week. So not wasting no time, let's jump straight into the article. According to the World Bank's April 2025 economic update on Burkina Faso, the country's economy grew by 4.9% in 2024 compared to 3% in 2023. All right, now time out. Now the reason why I want to use the World Bank's analysis is because you already know they're not going to say anything in the favor of the captain. So anything they're saying here is because it's simply the facts, and no amount of propaganda can deny it. Now, typically what you hear in the Western media is, oh, the jihadist terrorist attacks. Oh, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, he is losing territory to the terrorists. But if that were true, then how is the economy growing by nearly 5%, even higher than the previous year? If the terrorists were really occupying large amounts of national territory, then that would mean that the roads would be blocked, the farmers wouldn't be able to farm, the markets wouldn't be open, there wouldn't be much movement, much economic activity, right? So if economic activity is growing, then there's obviously progress being made in terms of security. So just by the fact that economic growth is occurring, then obviously in terms of the security aspect, the captain is definitely moving in the right direction. So I'm definitely going to factor that into the equation when I give my personal evaluation. Now let's continue. Per capita GDP growth also increased from 0.7% to 2.5% over the same period. Now that goes to show, economic activity is increasing. There's more money circulating in the economy, more money in people's pocket. The market is getting busier, right? We collecting more revenue and taxes. People are spending more money, engaging in more commerce, right? Now, if terrorists are taking over the country like the adversary says, how is that possible? Let's continue. Wow, let's continue. This acceleration is attributed mainly to the performance of services and agriculture, supported by an improved security situation, favorable weather conditions, and increased government support to the agriculture sector. Now, the adversary himself at the World Bank, right? The adversary himself says, yes, the security situation is improving. Whatever changes that have been made to the military or the approach to combating terrorism, they're making progress in that aspect, and we're seeing it in the economic activity. And that's not me saying it. That's the white man saying it. That's the World Bank saying it, not me, right? Not me. I'm going to give my analysis later, but this is the World Bank saying it. Anyway, let's continue. However, inflation increased in 2024 to 4.2% from 0.7% in 2023, driven by the spike in food prices caused by market speculation linked to a late start to the rainy season. Despite this, the strong growth in the agriculture and service sector in 2024 reduced the extreme poverty rate by 3 points to 23.2%, with a sharper decline in rural areas. Despite this, the absolute number of people living in poverty remains high, exceeding 5.5 million. Now, in that part, they said due to, weather conditions or the rainy season, food prices had spiked, which also had an effect on the inflation. Now, if you remember the previous year, that 0.7% inflation number, that was actually brought down when the captain, a year after he came into power, the inflation shot down to 0.7%. Now they say it's back up to 4.2%. And the reason they gave was because of the rainy season. Now, overall, they say poverty is down 3 points, a 3-point drop in poverty in a single year. And they say conditions are even improving even better in the rural areas. But overall, you still have a segment of the population that still remains in poverty. Now, from the situation I can gather right here, I can clearly see that the captain is allocating government resources directly to sectors like agriculture and things like that, to where now you see the economic activity increasing because the state is actually deliberately allocating state resources to make that happen. And they're saying that those at the bottom of society, they're the ones feeling the benefits the most. Those in the rural areas, right? The everyday people, they're the ones that really feel the benefits when you hear things like a 3% drop in poverty, things like that, the increase in economic activity, GDP, things like that. They're the ones that feel it, the everyday, Burkina-based citizen. But of course, things aren't perfect. He's not going to save the country, in a couple years. To make real widespread change, he's going to need time in office to really do his thing and really, work his magic. But especially after decades of corrupt, incompetent rule, Blaise Compaoré sitting in the seat of power back by the West for years and years, not doing a goddamn thing, right? If you remember when the captain did that interview and he responded to General Michael Langley, he said, before I came to power, there wasn't even a speck of gold in the National Gold Reserve. There wasn't even dust in the gold reserve. When I came to power, I'm the first one who began reserving the gold, right? So, the country is recovering from decades and decades of misrule and incompetent rule. So when the captain came to power, he's basically like a doctor who's trying to resuscitate a patient who's been chronically ill for a very long time. He's trying to stabilize the patient, right? The patient got all type of things wrong with it, right? Internal bleeding, infections all over the place, right? So now we got to administer the medicine, which is basically, we're going to support the agriculture. We're going to make sure the government is spending the money in a wise fashion, right? So now, as you can see, the patient is starting to get back on its feet a little bit, right? The patient is starting to eat again. That's the economic activity, the rise in the GDP and the per capita growth, right? The vital signs are starting to slowly get better, right? So it's going to take time. Somebody who's been chronically ill for a very long time, they're not going to just bounce back like that, right? It's going to take some time, naturally, gradually. That's why you think they're calling for elections. No, we're not going to elections. No, sir. Let's continue. This report also notes a decline in the twin deficits in 2024. The fiscal deficit improved in 2024 from 6.5% to 5.6% of GDP, thanks to a better control of public spending and increased revenue mobilization. Now, time out. Now, keep in mind, all of this is occurring while the country is literally under terrorist attack, terrorist jihadist Islamic insurgency, backed by foreign powers. And all of this is occurring. He's fighting terrorism while simultaneously steering the economic ship of his nation in the right direction. Basically, it says that in this part of the article that the captain, he's good with money, right? In terms of allocating state resources in the right areas, he's good with public spending. He's good with handling the national budget. He's not wasting money, right? As you can see, he's not taking money and stashing it in a foreign account or buying Versace and Louis Vuitton for his mistress. As you can see, he's taking state resources and he's actually putting it to work. And this is not me saying it. This is the World Bank saying it. This is the white man saying it. These are the Western institutions saying it, right? Begrudgingly, reluctantly, because they don't even want to see him in power because according to them, he's the non-democratically elected leader who disgraced democracy. So no, they're not going to be in support of his administration, but they're saying it because it's simply the facts on the ground, right? The numbers are the numbers. Regardless of how you feel about democracy, the numbers are the numbers. Now, contrast that with the administration of Emmanuel Macron, like we reported a couple days ago. His government is on the verge of economic collapse. They have to raise their taxes. They have to slash the social services. They got to remove some of the pensions, right? Their deficits are skyrocketing and expected to grow. Meanwhile, the captain's deficit is going down and he's actually seeing economic growth, right? And at the same time, he's combating a jihadist terrorist insurgency within his own borders. So listen, man, the captain, I haven't even gave him my report card yet, but listen, let's continue. At the same time, the current account deficit also improved from 8.0% of GDP in 2023 to 6.4% in 2024 due to the rise in gold prices, which boosted the value of exports. However, the financing of this deficit largely relied on regional markets in an environment of high interest rates. The report highlights that the short and medium-term outlook remains positive, but is subject to multiple risks such as insecurity, climate shocks, debt refinancing, and challenges in the financial sector. Assuming these risks abate, growth is expected to strengthen to 5% over the medium term, driven by buoyant services and expected recovery of industry, notably through improved energy access and favorable average weather conditions for agriculture. Now, in that part of the article, it said that another aspect of the economic growth is the profitable conditions currently in the gold sector, right? The price of gold has been rising and rising, never stopping rising, right? And as you can see, they've been taking back control of the natural resources, taking back certain gold mines, establishing refineries, right? And we can't forget about Niger taking back the uranium. We can't forget about Mali slapping up Barrick Gold, right? So all of these things come into account when you examine the economic growth. Something else that stuck out to me is the fact that they said that the value of exports is rising, right? Which means that the nation is either already exporting more than they're importing, or at least they're definitely closing the gap, right? And as a nation, you definitely want to be exporting way more than you're importing. You definitely want to be in a position to where, you know, you're generating a whole lot of revenue. You got a lot of stuff for sale instead of always being the buyer or, you know, on the receiving end of something. Now, the reason for the rise in the value of the exports, they said, was due to the gold sector. The captain is capturing more value in the gold sector compared to previous administrations. And keep in mind, all while at the same time fighting a terrorist jihadist insurgency, right? Literally, he's fighting a war at the same time while he's literally bringing his economy back from the dead. Listen, goddamn. And they talking about going to elections. Listen, if things remain on this course, on this positive direction, we are never going to elections, brother. We are never going to elections if this is the case. Listen, tell Emmanuel Macron to go to elections, right? He's the one who, ever since he took the reins of government, he has taken his economy and he has thrown it off the cliff. Emmanuel Macron has taken the reins of government and he has destroyed France's geopolitical influence. He has destroyed the French economy. He has taken the reins of government. He has grabbed the steering wheel and he has steered the nation's economy off a cliff. Tell Emmanuel Macron go to elections. Over here, we are not going to elections, brother. If things remain on this course right here, bro, we are never going to elections. Anyways, man, listen, I want to give my report card to the captain before we get out of here, man. We examined the report card given by the adversary. Now I want to give my thoughts and opinions. First things first, in the arena of handling the national budget, governance, overall governance, managing the money, I would say I would give him an A. I would give the captain an A. He has decreased the fiscal deficit. As you can see, economic activity, even while terrorists are attacking, is actually increasing, which means that he's making improvements in the fight against terrorism, right? More money is in circulation. People are getting more money in their pocket. So that's a good sign, right? In terms of the economy, I would also give him an A for the same reasons mentioned before, especially due to the fact that you can see that it's a deliberate effort, right? The state is actually allocating resources to improve the agriculture sector, improve the conditions of the farmers. And now we can see that by the uptick in performance. In terms of security, I would give him a B. And the only reason I wouldn't give him an A is because the fight against terrorism is still ongoing. I give him a B only because the terrorists have not fully been wiped out yet. That's the only reason I didn't give him an A. Now, in terms of the natural resources, how he's handling and managing the natural resources, once again, I give him an A. Gold mines have fallen back into the possession of the government. A refinery has been constructed. Revenue from the gold sector has decreased the deficit between imports and exports. And as you can see, he's taken that revenue, state revenue, and allocating it in the right direction, as we can see by the uptick in economic performance and economic growth. So once again, yes, I give him an A in that aspect. So overall, judging by this analysis from the World Bank, we can see that the captain is not just another, knucklehead from the military who just took power for his own personal ambition or just to take, cool pictures in a military uniform, but somebody who's actually a true diplomat, a true statesman, who's actually taking the reins of government and making an effort, actually trying to improve the situation while at the same time battling, like I said, a terrorist insurgency. Now, all this occurred in the span of about, 2-3 years, right? 3 years about. So to see the true results and the fruits of his labor, he's going to need some more time in office. He's going to need some more time in office to really get things popping. We cannot have no disruption in the process. You're talking about somebody, like I said, who's trying to stabilize a patient who's been chronically ill for a very long time. We're talking about decades of corruption, incompetent rulership. We have terrorists backed by foreign powers, and he still finds a way to balance the budget, decrease poverty, grow the economy, improve the military. Come on, man. Hats off. Pay homage to the young brother. Pay homage to the captain. Pay homage to the captain. Wow. This is the first report card I've done of a head of state on the continent that didn't end in disaster. I gave a report card way back in the day of Nana Akufo-Addo after he lost the election. The other day, I gave one to William Ruto. Both of them failed miserably. This is the first report card I've done of a head of state where he actually got amazing grades, and he actually passed with flying colors, right? And if he stays on his path, listen, the country is headed in the right direction, in comparison to France, which is on the verge of economic collapse. But anyways, man, it's your boy Never Card. That's Celine back in the Billy. Yes, indeed. 21 Cannon's first single off the next album. Pinned comment at the top. Subscribe to the Patreon. Link in the description. And I'm gone. Peace. King of the North, and I feel like Moise. Took a few losses, I'm back on my feet. Selling they soul for trinkets and cash. Right on the front like the leader from Chad. Feel like I see me, I feel like I'm Idris. Walking on gold, I handle my business. Honor, integrity, money, and power. Told me she love me, she want me in power. Told her I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. Told her come over, come see me in person. Told her come over, I'm sick of the talking. Don't got no time cause that money be calling. Working all night and I'm up in the morning. Love when I call her, she love my attention. Body and soul, I'm truly protected. Back on that road and big body business. Told her I love her, I told her she mine. Get in that passenger seat, we gon' ride. Back on my mission, that money been stacking. Came from the bottom, I'm steady expanding. Run to the check and I pull up and vanish. Grabbing the neck from the back when I smash. Don't need no question, they know it's official. Come from the cloth and my life ain't no fiction. Ride for the scene like I'm Army enlist. Gotta stay focused, I'm moving deliberate. Heart of a king and my heart full of pain. Look at my neck and it's flooded with chains. And I got Desaline blood in my veins. Enemy watching, I stay with a flame. Keep it 100, they know how we move. Black on black beamer, interior blue. How you gon' leave me? I told you I love you. Pain in my heart, you knew I was trouble. Enemy watching, they wanna invade it. Hoping my brothers don't never betray us. Been on my mind and I hope I can save us. Look at my flaws, I don't see perfection. But I'm authentic, I'm whipping the 7. Like it's a phantom, I'm still manifesting. Gotta get money, I gotta get paid. Stay on my toes when I'm ducking these snakes. Go to my wrist and the queen on my arm. Feeling my energy, loving my charm. Might go put Desaline face on a piece. Ready for war, that's how you get peace. Know I'm protected, I'm ready for action. When I walk in, I need 21 cannons. Secret location, I'm up in the palace. One of a kind and she loving my manners. One of a kind and I'm telling the truth. His and her Bentleys, I gotta get two. Feeling like future, we never gon' lose. Feeling like Garvey, I'm running the block. Entering off firm and I'm letting off shots. King of the North and I'm up at the top. How you gon' leave me? I told you I love you. Pain in my heart and you knew I was trouble. Enemy watching, they wanna invade it. Hoping my brothers don't never betray us. Been on my mind and I hope I can save us. Look at my flaws, I don't see